Hello everyone and welcome to my today's webinar, how to use OpenAI features to generate text, images and speech using our favorite development tool, Delphi from Embarcadero. And for our today's example, we will use Delphi FMX framework, not VCL, because I think it's more modern and give us more capabilities for developing our modern and up-to-date applications. Who am I? Maybe you already saw some webinars or recordings from my conference speeches about Delphi. I feel myself like a guy who believe and promote Delphi. I'm also Embarcadero MVP. I'm trying to increase and grow our Delphi's community with creation different materials, recordings, webinars, information about Delphi and how we can use it for cutting-edge applications and solutions. If you have something to say, you can see my email and just let me know what we can discuss. Today we will, as I already mentioned, we will talk about three types of interaction with OpenAI. I think everyone know who is it. OpenAI, I think it's like one of the most famous companies who develop AI projects and products, especially in terms of Gen AI. Gen AI is a generation of text, images, voice, so on and so forth. And of course we can use also our custom models, custom generative models locally, but today we will talk about how to connect to OpenAI to their API which stored in the cloud, put some our requests and get responses. As I already mentioned, not only OpenAI suggests us such similar services. It can be also Microsoft in their Azure services like Gemini, Copilot. It can be as a Google. But today we will talk about one of the most famous one. It's like OpenAI. Before any interaction with OpenAI, of course, we have to have their account, log into their platform and create an API key. By the way, I want to add that for this my webinar, I will combine and will apply such approach as like in the beginning I'll show you on the images how it works and all the explanations, and you will also have not only my voice and some parts of the code, but you also will have all the detailed instructions how to do it, and then we will switch to the code inside Delphi and just will start this all these examples and you will see how it works. Okay, let's go back to our OpenAI. We have to go to platform openai.com and create our account. Create our account and create API key, which will later we'll use for all our examples. From my side, I can say that if you want to use their API, we have to pay something. Of course, it depends on how often and you will perform requests to them and what is the amount of the data which you will put to OpenAI as a question and return back as a response. They have very let's say not a complex but flexible plans, and I think it's the subject of another webinar, but I just can tell you that you just increase your balance and you will have some amount of tokens which we can use later for our applications. What we will develop? We will develop T-ChatGPT class, like a Object Pascal class for Delphi, and in this class will handle all our operations for text. We will just put to it our API key. We will put some user's prompt, which our question to OpenAI, and this class will return us the answer from ChatGPT. Of course, for this request we can provide different parameters, and it's better to check API reference from OpenAI website, but like from a satellite view, I'll tell you, like, one of the most important parameters, you have to provide just model which we want to use. It can be like ChatGPT 3.5, or it should be like 4.0 or 4.0, and so on. In the future, I think they will have more, of course, models. Here is just an example and screenshot of this class. Like, we have to put this to it as a parameter, as I said, our HTTP client component and our OpenAI API key. And we have a function which will just translate response from our ChatGPT, from our OpenAI API, and give us like text answer for getting and reading it, how it looks like. But I'll show you full response because sometimes it can have a lot of important information, such as error, like API key is not valid, you do not have enough balance for performing the request, and so on. Of course, everything is listed inside OpenAI reference, API reference. For making requests to OpenAI API, we have to use HTTP client component. And this component will use a post method for putting data, and we will also specify different header parameter for this component. And we will stream our answer from OpenAI to memo component. I'll show you this later, how we will perform this request, just pushing the button. And we will have a send request handler, which will give us an answer of our request. Here is one note which I think is important. After you generate API key in your OpenAI account, you will just have some number of numbers and letters, but you have to put it here and leave this bearer and space word. It's important because sometimes people don't know that it's really important, and just remove this bearer word and it doesn't work. It tells that API is not valid. Also, important thing that we will asynchronously process answer from the OpenAI, and we will use TTask class for doing that. Here is like a text and explanations where we are getting this our response and how we will show it to our memo component. It's for next. That was the screenshot for the next slide. But now I suggest to switch to the source code and Delphi, and I'll show you how it looks like in a practical view. Welcome back. Now we have opened Delphi 12, and one of the today's example projects about how to generate some text with OpenAI API. We have a project, by the way, later in the end of the webinar, in the presentation, you will be able to find a link to the GitHub repository with all these examples. The first project called GPT message project, and here we have only one form and our ChatGPT helper class for making requests to ChatGPT, to OpenAI API, and getting a response. I'll show you how it works. Here is, we will start from ChatGPT helper class. One of the most important thing is syntax to ChatGPT method. Here is, we perform our post request and provide all necessary parameters, such as OpenAI API key, and specify which model you want to use. I will use GPT-4 model, but of course you can change it and use other models. You have to provide your in form create method. You have to provide your API key. No, don't worry that you can see it, because after the webinar we will just disable it. It won't work. And let's see how the app is work. We have our main form with this net HTTP client component, which will work for sending request, and we have a memo component with where we will provide our question to ChatGPT, and we have send request to GPT button. Here we create our helper class. As I already said before, we will send here HTTP client component and OpenAI API. And in async mode, we will get a response from ChatGPT. Everything is very clear, and you actually can copy all this text to your future applications, source code to your future applications. Sorry. Now let's check how it works. Let's start with the easiest request, like what is Delphi, and send this request to ChatGPT. Here we have to manually switch to the next tab, and you see the answer. On the top we can see JSON answer from OpenAI API. Here is the content. It's how it look like. This is what ChatGPT thinks about our favorite development tool. And here also we have a usage, like for the billing. We can see how much tokens ate this our request to ChatGPT. Interesting that I'll show you, for instance, if we do not have enough balance or our API is wrong, we will have here other values. It will tell us that API key is wrong, for instance. You see, incorrect API key provided. Let's go back and let's ask something more specific. Let's ask him how we can refactor this code. As I said, it's not only for text generation. We can ask ChatGPT refactor our code, write to us our code, and then write a new our CV for us. Why not? Let's ask him. By the way, who use word please when he interact with all these GPT services? I don't know, but I'm automatically at this please word. I'm not sure is it affect somehow or not. Okay, let's see what the answer will be. Oh, maybe I didn't send it. Oh, yeah. Here's the refactored code. This is how ChatGPT think it can be refactored. Let's compare. Write for me a template of the CV from Delphi developer, and let's send it to GPT. Okay. Again. Okay. Where is my answer? It thinks. Oh, yeah. Here it is. Okay, and what do we have here? Highly skilled and dedicated Delphi developer. I think that's all about us. Okay, this is what I wanted to show you with this part of chat and text generation using OpenAI API. Now let's switch to the second example. And now let's continue with the second example in how to generate images with OpenAI API. Here, for generation images, OpenAI suggests us to use other models, not like text generation models, but like ChatGPT. But now we will use DALL-E models from OpenAI. They also have their own billing parameters, and all this information you can find inside OpenAI API reference and understand how it will cost for you. It's really interesting thing because you can just give some explanation like text prompt or what you want to get, and all these models and all this AI will give you how it look like, how it can look like, and how it thinks about it. It's a really, I think, for the future, unlimited place where we can find and even create some art for us and so on. And as for me, I sometimes even cannot stop experimenting because the results sometimes are very interesting, sometimes funny, sometimes they are not unpredictable how it look like, and we can easily use it for our applications. Even sometimes if we want to train our own model, we can just ask AI to generate for us some images, and we can do it also. It's like AI train other AI. That's the future. Let's see how it will work. We can, as I said, we can send text prompt to AI what we want to generate, which image, and it will give us, it can to receive a response like an image in two different formats. The first one is like encoded base64 string. The second format, OpenAI just will be able to give you URL with your generated image, and this URL you can use wherever you want. You can just download it, you can just open on your website, in your applications, and so on. Later I'll show you, except of response format, we can specify also size of the image. Of course, images with bigger size will be generated more slowly, and the speed of generation you also can set up in your OpenAI account. It will depend on your billing plan. For doing all this stuff, we will just improve our class like TChatGPT, which we used in the previous example. We will just add additional methods for getting us an image from AI and encoding this image, decoding this image. I will not too deeply stop on all these explanations because I think it will be like a good help for you just to understand the code, because unfortunately our code does not have any comments. Everything is here in this presentation, which also I think will be available for downloading and reading. We will implement getImageURL from JSON method, which will give us a URL to our image, and we will show this image in the component on our Delphi form. And the second one of the main methods here for generation images is like getting our base64 image. It's like text format, like numbers, letters, which we can convert to the image. For sending request, we will use the same component as we used for ChatGPT, and for decoding our string from the response and move it to the image, we will use TID decoder MIME component. Also, we will list a response from OpenAI just for understanding what's going on here, how it look like. And we will show by clicking two different buttons which implement two different methods to get an image, we will show our image in TImage component. And yes, we will use also async request, how it mentioned here, to send in this image, because sometimes it takes some time for generating this image. For me, it can be like 10-15 seconds. It depends on the image size, of course. And as I mentioned, we will have these two methods. One of the interesting things that we will put our information from OpenAI to string or to image string for showing on the form. And here is like it will look like. Now I think let's switch to our source code and play with this example. Okay, now we're here. Here is our expanded and improved example. This project called OpenAI Image Generator. And here we'll have the same class, ChatGPT Helper, with new additional methods, like we already mentioned. Get JSON with image and get image base64 from JSON. Here you can see which parameter we are using. We will use DALL-E2 model, and we, depending on the response format, as we mentioned before, we will ask OpenAI to give us base64 response, or just give us an URL of the image. And here we have hard-coded size of the image which we want to get. Of course, you can specify it here different resolutions of your future image. What else can be important here? Okay, it's like for text generation. Let's go back to our form. As we said, we have one more component here, new buttons for sending request and getting some response. For instance, if you want to get just base 64-bit image here, we create a GPT helper class, put to it HTTP client and OpenAI API key like it was in the previous example, and we just give a response to our promo, to our TMOMA component, just for understanding what do we have under the hood. And in async methods, we just getting our base64 string as an image and showing it to our image component. And I think it's better to one time to see how it look like instead of many times here. Okay, let's start not maybe from cats and mice, but let's start and generate a seagull, and let's see how it can look like. And let's start from generating image as a base 64-bit string. Yes, it works. It works. It not because we can see that our thread was started, and now we can see the image which was generated by our OpenAI and DALL-E model. Let's go back and see how the response look like. You see that it just have a long string. It just encoded image inside base 64 format. Now let's play with this generation, and please let's generate a seagull image like in Minecraft style. Okay, let's do it this way. Pixels seagull, and let's check how it can look like. And now let's use the second method. Just ask OpenAI to give us an image and give us an URL which we can use wherever we want. Let's start. It thinks, because we can see that thread was started. Let's wait a little bit. It's around 7 seconds, I guess. Oh, here we go. You see how this seagull can look like in my Minecraft style. And actually, as I said, we can play with this and explain much more complicated requests like, okay, let's ask to give us generate pixels 2 seagulls, like red and lime, for instance, and how it will look like. Of course, we can provide much more complicated requests, and it will generate it. Okay, here it look like we can 2 seagulls. Of course, they are not like a red, but something is red and something is lime. Now let's talk about how to generate speech via OpenAI services. It allows quite wide amount of services and possibilities which we can use. Not only just generate for us some voice, some sound by text, but also vice versa, give us text from some audio files and other services, such as like we can use different languages. We can ask in one language and get a speech like a sound file in other language, so on and so forth, because we can just provide text and give a result in different formats also. OpenAI give us different options which we can provide, sending and request to them, and which audio and what we have to get in the end, and let's check what we can specify. In API reference from OpenAI, we can find different parameters, what we want to generate. You can find it inside Create Speech tab with all these detailed explanations and an example of a URL request, which not a URL but post request, which we may have to send to OpenAI. Here it is what we can configure. We can configure which voice type we want to have. We can ask which output format do we need. like MP3, WAV, and other formats. We can also ask to generate for us a sound file with specified speed, and maybe we want to have some description of this generated sound, of course, and so on. And yes, I would like to add that we will have two examples. What we will do here, the first one just give us a sound, like a voice of our text, and we will also perform vice versa operation, like we will provide to OpenAI some sound file, and we'll ask him to give us like a transcription. What do we have in those files? It can be useful for different purposes, like if you want to take some transcriptions from your recorded video, maybe not in some services like Zoom, because Zoom, as I know, provides some transcription on its own, but if you recorded some video using your phone cameras and so on, you can not easily, but it's possible to get the transcriptions automatically from using OpenAI API. As I mentioned, we can provide which format do we need as a result, and we will have a couple of additional methods for our working TChatGPT class, which we already used for text generation and images generation. And in the code I'll show you how it look like and what we will use for that. Here is more like a transcription of our example, which I hope will be helpful for you if you deeper want to understand how it works. We will use the same net HTTP client component for sending requests to ChatGPT for generation sound, and we will use a media player component for playing the sound from the OpenAI. And for the second part of this example, as I said, if we want, we also will try to get a transcription of some sound file, and for these purposes we will use not a net HTTP client component, but we will use REST components also, which are a part of Delphi. It REST client, REST request, and basic authenticator component from REST client tab inside the ADE. Okay, here is how we will use terminal components for listing some responses from OpenAI. Here is a transcription, and I think now let's switch to our example and let's see how it works. Welcome to our third example, and now we will try to generate our sound from text and vice versa. I sent our sound file to OpenAI and ask him to give us a transcription of what do we have in those files. For these purposes, we have two tabs here, text to speech and speech to text, and each of these tabs has its own button for sending request for speech generation and for speech from audio file to text. Let's see how it looks like and how it works. When we are sending and want to receive an audio sound file from the text, same thing, we just should have our OpenAI key, and we are using the same OpenAI key like we used for text generation and for image generation. And we create an instance of our helper class and call the method getGenerated_speech as a stream. It's an interface. Let's find an implementation. Here, what we are using for this. We should provide API key. We have to provide which model, like sound generation model from OpenAI we want to use. And we are getting a response as a stream, sorry. And let's go back and let's see what do we have here. And here it's a little mistake here. It's like, let's call it sound stream, not an image stream. And we get our sound to the stream, and we save it to the file on our hard drive. Let's try to start it. For instance, tell me or say cats and mice. And let's ask OpenAI to do that.
Say cats and mice.
I don't see, could you hear it? But you can find this file in documents folder. And here we have this MP3 file with MP3 format. We can play it, and you will hear that it correctly generated this audio file. And now let's provide the same audio file to OpenAI and ask him to give us a text transcription, what inside this file. Here we have an empty field, empty TMM component. And now let's push the button, and our system will use the same file. Say cats and mice. You see, it correctly detects what the content of this file. And let's see now how it works, maybe more deeply. Now we have to use speech to text button, and as you can see, now we also we have to use another interface and providing another parameters to our helper constructor. And now we have put REST components for sending our audio files and get a transcription as a text. We created an instance of our class, and now we ask it to get us a text with using this method. Let's find an implementation. Here it is. You see that we asked another model to do these transcriptions for us, and here we just get a result as a response content. Here we go. This is how it works. I hope it will helpful and will be like a good start for your developments with OpenAI API. You can find all these examples in our GitHub repository. You can use them in anywhere you want, or just copy and reuse and change. And of course, if you have any questions, you can reach me via LinkedIn. You can find how to do that. And thank you for watching. I hope it was useful for you. I think it's just a good start for these developments using Delphi. You see that using Delphi we can do everything almost with each and all AI solutions and frameworks. It's just an example of OpenAI, but same thing we can do and work with Gemini. We can work with Copilot. We can work with what else? I think it's almost I even cannot finish this list of different solutions, because we have hundreds of different startups who provides for us different AI solutions. And of course we can also use Python for Delphi if we want to work with different AI models locally on our machines. Thank you for watching, and see you on our next webinars. Bye bye.